welcome back to Chicago. You're listening to Get Down to Business, and whether you're in Chicago tuning in on AM 560 or you are tuning in from anywhere around the world, that's right. Our podcasts are available on your favorite podcast app. Just look for Get Down to Business. So as promised, I'm thrilled to be joined by Dan Rogers, who has quite the story. You are following a mentality. We're going to talk about that, but I always love to get to know the person behind the microphone. Dan Rogers, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Seattle, almost Seattle native, Seattle since the mid 80s, and married to two young boys, 5 and 3, and just excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, such a pleasure. And I know family is super duper important. So you're being humble over here because you've spent quite a bit of time in building businesses. And now you are teaching some of those lessons to others through the sidekick mentality. So let's start about your businesses. I know you were on the Inc. 5000 list for 7 years as the CEO of Seattle-based point-to-point transportation. So tell us a little bit about your entrepreneurial journeys and how that led to a mentality that you've been teaching others.
Yeah. So, been fortunate that really since moving to Seattle, I've just been surrounded by high growth. And my first sort of quote unquote real job was just helping some guys try to grow a business themselves. And I found it was just easier to help people figure out where they were trying to go and help them get there. And that experience opening all those restaurants with those guys really demystified business for me. In less than 3 years, I mean, we went from 3 stores to over 50, and I was right in the center of it. And thank God they never gave me equity, or I'd still be rolling burritos. But it was just a fantastic journey to be able to see that level of growth firsthand and be able to participate in all those conversations. And so that really demystified what it took to run a business. And so from there, I went into sales and eventually bought the company that I was working for. And while I was in sales, what I found was it was just like rolling burritos. It was actually a lot easier to help people figure out what they wanted and how to get it. And sometimes that was with us, and sometimes that wasn't without us. And so over the years, we just continued to refine what point-to-point transportation was, and we became a highly specialized corporate event shipping company. And inside of that, again, it just becomes easier the more refined and the person that you're trying to help. And so what we did is just over and over again, we just sort of took the sidekick mentality of who is it that we're serving and how can we help them? And where that's a little different in terms of sort of traditional sales is like everyone we were talking to were people that we could have helped, right? But really understanding what they really want isn't always what you can do for them. And so as it relates to shipping, I mean, we could have moved anybody's stuff around, but for us to do great work for those people, we actually really had to put a full program in place. And a lot of people just wanted a shipping company. And so for those folks, we let them go to another place, and we continue to sort of run a company around and continuing to grow for the people that really wanted our services. So
awesome. And now you're teaching that sidekick mentality in the Sales Sidekick Bootcamp, which certainly letting others learn some of those lessons from your very successful career in sales. And in addition to that mentality, I know that your life, you've talked about your family, and your business is really governed by what you call the 8 restraints. In a nutshell, we don't have time to go through all of them, but in a nutshell, are there any takeaways that you would recommend to our listeners that they should put in place in the week and months ahead?
Sure. So I think one of the ones, so number 5, so all these restraints are sort of just ways to sort of govern this brain that I have to kind of keep it on the rails. And so one of the ones that I found most helpful is just to copy off the smartest kid in class. And the smartest kid in class can change mid-sentence, right? Like it's not a fixed It's not a fixed kid in class. And so what I mean by that is rather than go and figure things out for yourself, if you find successful people and just emulate what they do, that is ridiculously effective. And what I found is I can't think of a time when it didn't work, that when I took a closer look at it, I actually just wasn't doing it the way they said to do it. Right. And so one of those restraints, copying off the smartest kid in class, has really benefited me well. And so it sounds funny, but most of what we did at Point to Point, I learned rolling burritos. It just continued to seeing all these businesses for the same, right? Seeing how they're the same instead of seeing how they're different actually makes them much, much easier to run and to help.
So again, I'm chatting with Dan Rogers, who is teaching that sales sidekick mentality. So I'm going to go to the question I actually asked an earlier guest as well. As you look in the next 5 to 10 years, what do you hope will be different about how businesses conduct themselves? And I know that you're going to play a role in it by teaching that mentality and helping people become better in sales, better business owners, better leaders.
Sure. So what I'm hoping that we can have an impact on is I'd really like to sort of raise people's expectations about how they think about business. And when I say business, about running a business. So I think the most useful way to think of a business as a system, right? And I think in general, if I can be sort of bold, I think that our system design has been too small. We haven't asked our businesses to be bigger and deliver on more fronts. So what we're hoping to do at Sales Sidekick is to find folks that their number one obstacle is sales, and that we can sort of turn that obstacle into their greatest asset. And so how we're doing that is, I think in order for a business to be viable, there's 3 subsystems inside of that. And the first one is, selling it and marketing it. The second one is producing it and delivering it. And then the third one is paying for it and getting paid for it. And I think to be viable, I would evaluate a business as I'd look at each one of those 3 subsystems, right? Sort of grade them out 1 through 10. And if you're 24 or higher, you're viable in my book. And you can get to 24 any way you want. You could be 10, 4, 10, you could be 8, 8, 8, right? But if you want to really grow and get to the next level, eventually you're going to have to be 9 or better in sales. So we're looking for folks that think they have a 24, but are 8 or less on the sales side, because to be brutally candid, Point to Point probably is a 6 in service delivery, despite the fact that we're a shipping company. You can actually be wildly successful with a 9 or a 10 in sales, and a 10. We're certainly a 10 on the getting paid and paying for it, for sure. And you can overcome or work around service delivery when those other 2 pillars are super strong.
So walk us through, Dan, in the minute or so remaining, when somebody enters that one of your workshops, what can they expect when they come in regarding the process, and what should they expect in coming out of the workshop?
Yeah, so hopefully we're going to reframe on that one. We're hoping to reframe how they think about sales, right? Sales is a transfer of enthusiasm about a worldview, right? And we're not trying to get them to see the world our way. We're trying to help them inform themselves as to what their worldview is, because most people don't have a clear understanding of what their worldview is as it relates to the product or service that we're selling, and then how they can navigate inside of that worldview to where they want to get to. And because we live inside that worldview, because that's the product and service that we sell, we can help them get to how that is, and that's get to where they want to go. And that's what we're hoping to do. I think most people are looking at, hey, we're in this set destination, and how do I attract as many people as I can there? And it's really just helping them along the journey.
Well, Dan Rogers, you've been a pleasure, and I know our listeners will want to learn more about everything that you've shared, some of the lessons and tips. How can people get a hold of you and find out more about your programs?
So I think LinkedIn is probably the best place to go. That's sort of where the tip of the funnel is for us. So you can find me at Dan T. Rogers on LinkedIn. And there's links off of that to everything else that we're doing. But I think that's the sort of the one stop to keep it simple for everybody.
Dan T. Rogers, fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your expertise. We'll be sure to have you back on real soon. And we are going to squeeze in a break, headlines. And when we come back, I will be sharing some tips regarding handshakes in this era of COVID. And we still have more small business jobs and entrepreneurship later on in the program. Don't touch that out. We'll be right back.